Hello and welcome to Rolling with Reviews. I'm Will, and with me as always is the pursuer of all things love.
Aw, Sarah.
And today we're doing a review of Pursuit of Happiness. Sarah, tell us a bit about this game.
All right, The Pursuit of Happiness is a game in which you start in your teen years and live through old age. Using a worker placement mechanism with time as your workers, you take on projects, get jobs, buy items, establish relationships, and raise families. The player with the most long-term happiness at the end of the game wins. All right, Will, so why did we get this?
Primarily the theme.
Yes, this theme really interested us. And we backed the very first Kickstarter back in 2015.
And all the other ones since.
And everything since then. So we've been along for the ride from the beginning.
Yeah, we played Among the Stars from Artipia. Liked what they had to offer, and just, I think, didn't we get information because of backing an Among the Stars campaign?
Right, that's how we found out about Pursuit of Happiness, is we backed Among the Stars. So they're saying, hey, our next Kickstarter is, and we're like, we should check that out. So we did.
Yes.
And here we are.
Yes.
Okay.
With way too much.
With way too much. That is unfortunately an Artipia thing. Expansion bloat.
Yeah.
Okay, what do we like about the game?
The theme.
The theme is very, very different. I mean, now I can say that there are quite a few games about living life, but at the time, especially back in 2015, there were not a wide variety of themes.
Yeah, this was fairly novel.
Yes, it was very novel. And I still say the way they approach it, for the variety of other life simulation games, this one is still one of my favorites, I think.
Yeah.
Just mechanically how it integrates with the theme.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I really look for is when does the mechanics and the narrative of the game mesh very well. And this game is one of those because, well, everything's going to be a little bit different from anything else. Your collection is different than a relationship you have, which is different than a job you have. They're all part of your life, but they act and respond in different ways. Plus, as you're going through the game, or even at the end of the game, you can look down at all the cards you have collected so far, and it tells you a story of how your life played out. When did things happen?
And I like that as a game simulating life, you as a player get to sort of experience things you would not do in real life. Granted, I mean, it is just a picture on a card, but I feel like they do a good job of the resources you put into it makes sense, the cost of things and what you get out of them, and then what they name everything as you're improving your collection or going out on a trip or...
Remember when I became a CEO just so I could retire?
Yeah. So you get this very interesting narrative story at the end of the game that then you can say, now I've had, this type of experience. I mean, granted, it's still just a game, but it's impactful.
Yes.
And
almost a role-playing type experience.
Yeah, it is slightly. I mean, for a board game focused mechanism.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not as open-ended. The other thing is, and unfortunately I forgot to talk about this in our Rolling with Two video, the pieces in the game are very accessible. Whether you have the original cardboard version or the upgraded deluxe bits, everything is uniquely shaped, especially between the 1 and the... Is it a 5 value?
Yes, 1 and 5.
5 value. They're different sizes.
So little books, big books.
Yeah.
Little light bulbs, big light bulbs. Now the creepiest thing are the handshakes.
Yeah, especially when you get the deluxe ones. Those are kind of weird.
They're like creepy, disembodied baby hands.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It is a little weird. But that means that they're all uniquely shaped. Will can manage his components without needing me, and so
how many more baby hands do you need to live your life? That is
right.
Because that's what influence.
Yes, influence, which makes sense. You're shaking
influence,
hands.
Knowledge, and creativity.
Yes.
And then money.
Yeah, and there's money.
Yeah.
The art is vibrant and it has a really good wide representation, which I went into a little bit more detail. But this is supposed to simulate life and a wide range of people. Culture, ages, gender. It's just I I think they do a pretty good job. As we discussed, there's a few areas where they could probably be a little more representative,
Yeah.
but
And then a lot of areas that they do cover in expansion material,
yes,
and promo material.
right. So if it's not in the base game, there are some expansion content that is more representative.
Yeah.
I think that covers a lot of what we like about it. So what we don't like, this is one of those rule books where it's a bit verbose. It just, they over explain things, which it just, when you get that repetitive, it's like, okay, fine, I got the concept.
Yeah.
And
or they kept explaining it till you lost track of what they were saying.
Yeah.
And the words stopped meaning anything to you.
right.
And you're like, okay, go back. What did you just read? Because it just
Right.
sounded like they just saying the same thing over and
Yes.
again, because a lot of times they are. It's just they're using slightly different words because that's how they designed everything.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a card action anymore. Well, it is a card action, but it's a reminiscent.
Yeah.
Or this is a dreaming. Or this is a collector's.
They overly thematically named everything.
Yes.
And they didn't need to. Now, I understand on the board taking an item versus taking a job versus whatever. The reason those need to be separate is that if you want to go take a second item, for example, during the same turn, it costs you more.
Yes.
But when you've got those cards in front of you and you want to activate a card, well, now you're activating an item and now you're activating a job. And I mean, it's really just you're activating the card. At that point, it doesn't matter what the card is.
They're all card actions.
They're all card actions. And when you get to the expansion, they keep naming every single one of them different. So you now have community cards. So now you're activating the community or whatever they used for it.
Now, the idea, I think, behind it is in case you're having a problem with a specific card, it's a little bit easier to reference
Yeah.
that given thematic name to go find it. It's just now they go heavy.
Yeah.
They go really heavy, and it's a really long list.
I will also say, since we have been supporting this from the beginning, we have the first edition rules, and it is greatly improved upon in the newer version. It'll be from 2022. You'll want to go to Artipia's website to download the new rules because they do change a few things for the two-player game. And I think they do rearrange some of the phases. So stuff works a little bit better in the revised rules than the original one.
Yeah.
So if you do get an older copy of it, go ahead and download it because your copy will work with the new rules. The only dissonance is going to be the board with the stress track.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing.
Yeah. Because you're supposed to have 6 hourglass
your
tokens
workers.
for your workers, and then you get more or less based on where you are on the stress track, all the way up to +3, all the way down to -3.
Right.
It's just the middle spot says nothing about a 6.
Right.
It's
In
just
the
blank.
original board.
In the original board.
Yeah. The new board just goes from 3 on the low end to 9 on the high end. So it just, you look at where you are on the new board and you know, I need to take this many hourglasses.
Yeah.
In the original board,
I think at one point you were like, so I think you only get 1 because you're at a +1. I go, no, I also get my starting. It's like, well, it doesn't say that.
yeah. So the original board, that's what the confusion was and why they revised that is you have to remember you start with 6. So if you have the old board and you're at +1, you get 6
Plus
plus
one,
1, so you get 7.
Now they
Yeah,
just write out the numbers.
Right. It's better not to have to do the math, especially when it never indicates on the board what your starting number is.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's everything. Oh no.
Dislike.
The dislikes, we've kind of alluded to it. The expansion content, there's Kickstarter promos, there's this and that pack. It's a little overwhelming. I mean, just, it feels like a lot of gameplay creep.
Now, the only reason why we want to mention that here is I know, like for us, whenever we see a game, we also look at, well, what else is available? And when we see a mountain of expansion material,
Yeah.
we're like, I'm not sure I want to even get on that.
Right. But
So that could be a massive barrier to get Pursuit of Happiness, even though I think Pursuit of Happiness is probably the best streamlined simplest version of the game that I would actually recommend.
Right. We're going to talk about our opinions in a moment.
Yeah.
But we just want to say, and this is why we're doing these videos, we're going to have videos on all the expansion content that we have since we've been backing it since the beginning. Not all of it may not always be available, but we at least want to go over it so you know what you can hopefully look at what you want and what you don't want so you don't have to feel overwhelmed by it all.
Yeah. Or pressured into trying to get it all.
Yeah. Well, we got broke from our completionist habits pretty quick when we got into the board gaming hobby. So
Yeah.
who this is for. I think this is going to be for those who really want that mid-weight, because it might be a little challenging for some casual family weight.
Yes.
Because it's just, there's some concepts that are a little bit more challenging, but it has a really strong theme, which is why we really do like it.
Yeah. And I think it's the jargon that would probably trip the more casual fans up. Not the fact that the gameplay itself, because the gameplay is simple. It's like you're using a marker to either take a card or activate a card.
And that's pretty much it.
And that will involve either paying resources, getting resources.
Yeah, that's pretty much everything.
Or doing something on a track.
Yes.
There, I've taught you the game, essentially the nuts and bolts of it.
Yeah, on your turn, you do an action, you spend the time needed. Sometimes it's more than one marker. Sometimes it's just one marker, and there you go.
Yeah, and all of that stuff is spelled out on any card that's like right in front of you.
Yeah.
So it's not hard to play.
Though I don't think this would be great for younger audiences. And the main thing is this really works off of nostalgia. Now, there is an expansion called Nostalgia, but there is a lot of
look back on your life.
Yes, it's life experiences. There's a lot of geeky references in here. This is going to be more appreciated by adults who've lived a life. Just because of those references, it's going to mean more. Of, oh, I always wanted to have a record collection. Well, now I can take the card, and now I have this huge, room full of records. That's pretty cool.
Or I have this doll collection, and now I've turned into a creep? I think that was the last one on there. Oh, yeah, okay.
Sometimes the humor falls flat. Sometimes it works. That's the trick with humor. So I think this is the only audience I would not recommend this for, really, would be younger audiences. Even if they can understand how to play the game, they might not really connect with it.
Yeah.
It
will definitely not necessarily be their favorite.
Yes. Let's move on to our ratings.
So for our ratings, we each have 1d6 worth of ratings to give. 1 is low, 6 is high. We give a number, a reason why, add them together, and see what it rolled for us. Sarah, what did Pursuit of Happiness roll for you?
It rolled a 4. I really enjoy the streamlined gameplay, the theme of what you're doing, of getting to experience things, especially if it's things that I've not done in real life. The thing is, it really feels like real life, which can be very stressful, especially when you're trying to make choices. It's like, well, I want to do this and this, but I can't. I don't have enough time. Literally don't have enough time. So it's hard to explain. It's just because it is simulating real life. I'm not sure it's a game I'll always want to play because I live real life. So that's kind of a catch-22 here with it does a really good job of simulating what the theme is. It's just you may not always want that, because sometimes, especially for me, I want to play games to get away from real life.
Right.
But I do really still enjoy the game. So that's why I think it lands about a 4 for me.
I would have probably given it a 4 as well. Because if I had just played this game and that was it, that came with it, I would have been kind of like, well, it doesn't entirely encapsulate life. There's so much more to it. However, knowing, and since we have it, having all the expansions that are available, I could say, oh, well, this game is a 5. Because this is a great place to start, easy game to learn, does all the simulation extremely well, and I know there's something out there that if I feel I'm missing, I know I can bring it in here and then make my experience absolutely complete. So the base game itself, I feel, is a solid 5 for me.
Okay.
So
Fair enough.
9 out of 12.
Yep. I think that's a really good game, especially a good start for a game like this. I think it is, it's very good.
But I do think that people do need to pick and choose.
When it comes to expansion content.
I know there are certain expansions, even though we have, I'm not entirely sure I want to just run out and play with them, because they're just not things that I think of I want to experience in my life simulator. So yeah, just be careful in that respect.
So look forward to our reviews on all of the expansions, or if it's been enough time, they're already all out and hopefully linked in the description below, so you can check it out and see what you might want to get as well to enhance the base game.
All right. And Sarah, what do you think your most successful life was?
Oh God, we played so many games. I don't know. They all blended after a while.
I think my most successful one was when I became president.
Oh yeah, that's right. You did become
and then
president.
I retired.
Yes, he was like, I'm going to become president and then retire. And I'm like, I never did retire in any of my games. I never could quite get to that point.
I think you were struggling just to get to the 3rd level,
I don't think
which
I
is the highest level of job.
I don't think I ever got to a 3rd level job in the games we played to work up to these videos. I think I got up to 2.
Yes.
I don't think I ever got up to 3. It was just, I reached my glass ceiling, I guess.
You're felt underpaid?
Oh, yes.
Is because you've been held down by the man?
Yeah.
All right. And we've been held down by the man because we've been rolling with reviews. And remember, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach out to us on the various social media platforms at
Rolling with 2. That's TWO. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And on YouTube, please like and subscribe.
And if you have time, check out the other content Nanaman has found for you, because remember, he's rolling with you.